The fact that I still remember this exercise, and we're talking about 6 months after I actually took the deep listening workshop, speaks to the impact. I can still remember who I was with in my group. I can remember where we were sitting. I can remember exactly how it played out, and I can remember everything we did wrong. And I can remember standing up at the end with a group of other people and talking about what I learned from that exercise. So for me, I had a real aha moment when we were debriefing. And you actually said, how much time did you spend as a group communicating about how you were going to communicate on the task? And for me, that was a real light bulb moment. I had just started leading a new, very important project, and it was with a fairly new agency group. And things were a little bit bumpy. And what I did straight after I did that puzzle exercise was I had a 2-hour session with the agency where we didn't talk about the campaign. We just talked about how we're going to communicate with each other. And so this is everything from how we shared presentations, how we gave each other feedback. And I felt that was a real step change in the way that we worked. It's crazy how so many small things around how we communicate can have so much impact. And I think that for me is that aha moment I got from the puzzle exercise. I think they would have felt like relieved that this happened. I think they would have been feeling the tension too on their side, and these small little things that kind of build up to something big. I think they would have felt grateful that someone stopped and actually asked them, how do you want us to give you feedback? How do you telling them how we want to get presentations from them. I think they would have appreciated feeling heard. And yeah, they did. So I think the relationship just got so much better. Things got faster. When we were debriefing on the puzzle exercise, Oscar asked, did anyone get up and go and stand behind the person actually making the puzzle? So for me, one of the biggest learnings that I got and one of the biggest behavior changes that I saw in myself was around perspective. So my role is heavily cross-functional. Almost every project that I lead involves dozens of teams who actually aren't in marketing. And I did one thing after I did that puzzle exercise, and that is I would book a meeting with myself before any important cross-functional meeting that I was involved in or leading. And I would spend time in that meeting with myself thinking about all the stakeholders and the relationships that had tension or where something felt confusing or something felt stuck. And I would 180 my perspective, and I would think about that person, and I would think about their motivations or what might be hard for them to make a decision on a certain thing, or what might be hard for them to say yes to a certain thing. And I would think about it from their perspective, and then I would use that as a tool in the meeting in terms of how I framed what the potential solution could be. The impact of that in those cross-functional steering committee meetings, it actually unlocked certain situations where we're at an impasse. So there was one in particular that I can remember. We were working on a project and we just couldn't get past this impasse. We'd had a couple of meetings, and I went in with a fresh way to frame it. And it was really after I did that 180 on perspective. And we were able to quickly, within that same meeting, where I used this technique, make a decision and move forward. And it felt kind of quite straightforward and simple after we did that. The most surprising thing to me is when you listen better, meetings are consistently shorter. The deep listening puzzle is a revelation. It's a group exercise that will help you see for yourself what the cost of not listening is and then how you can change that. I also think it's fun. If you're a people and culture leader, I think the deep listening workshop is, and particularly the puzzle exercise, is a mandatory for anyone who's working in a company, and especially any new hires. I would make that part of their onboarding. I think the deep listening puzzle is a real light bulb moment within the deep listening workshop. I had such a positive experience taking the training myself. I wanted to pay it forward and give that knowledge to my whole marketing team. No one was really asking for training on listening, but after they took it, they all realized how game-changing it could be. I actually remember I was standing in the micro kitchen in my office, and someone in the team ran up to me after taking the training, and she said, you know, in the last decade, I've taken so many workshops on how to be a better speaker, and I've never been trained on how to be a good listener. And I thought that summarized it really well. I also love walking around the office and hearing people use the language from the workshop. So using things like, sorry, I was being an interrupting listener, or for me, it's being the dramatic listener, which I thought meant I was showing that I cared and showing I listened a lot. But I recognize that is a listening style that is not a good listening style. So I changed that in myself as well. This training is particularly impactful when it's taken as a group with people that you work with the most. So this could be with your agencies. This could be with cross-functional teams, in my case, or it could be with your core team. I think it's also the perfect kickoff for taken at the start of a broader course of training. So whether that's a full day of training or an offsite, I think having this deep listening workshop at the start will then make all the rest of the content something that people actually remember because they're listening to it in the right way. A colleague of mine who has also been trained by Oscar, we have this expression with each other. You've never really had a conversation until you've had a conversation with Oscar. He reads between the lines, these subtle, silent moments that other people tend to try to gloss over. He is a ninja at getting to the heart of what you actually mean, but sometimes aren't saying. And I also think just his experience, his incredible legacy of experience in the corporate world, and the way he commands respect in a room. He's a very compelling speaker. It really means that the way he delivers content is appropriate for a very senior audience, all the way down through to more of a junior audience. Oscar's style is profound. I feel like the way he delivers content in such a crisp way with impact, it feels like what you're getting feels really profound, and you're sort of uncovering you're discovering these things for yourself because of the way he asks questions. I have taken a lot of trainings and workshops in my career, and for me, this is best in class in terms of learning that sticks. So it's a lot of learning by doing. I can still remember the flow of the workshop from the kickoff story that Oscar told, his personal story of listening. I can still remember that story. The interactive exercises, the Post-it note one that we did up on the wall, the puzzle game, of course, the frameworks that we got, the characters he was using to describe different styles of listening, and all of the extended learning, the way that we were, it was so expertly done using QR codes to snap extended learnings and the takeaways that people got to sit on their desk. I think it's not just about the moment in that room, but how we're also creating behavior change through extended learning as well. So I really felt like it's best practice in terms of how to deliver a workshop. If you're doing a company kickoff, an offsite, if you are working with a new agency team, I think something like Oscar's Deep Listening Workshop is so impactful. I took it over 6 months ago and I still remember almost every single part of it. I created immediate behavior change the next day, and I'm still making changes to the way I listen today. I think it's very unlocking, and it had an overwhelmingly positive response from everyone in my team who took it.